The channel, we are in blood physiology. We are going to start a coagulation system. So first we'll see platelets like overview, and we'll continue this. So platelets mainly what are formed. First the platelet primary plaque is formed, and next the coagulation takes place, and the platelet adhere, and next platelet aggregate, and next secondary hemostatic plaque forms, next clot forms, thrombus forms, embolus. So we'll see how we'll try to differentiate all these terms by the end of this lesson, so that we can understand every process. So first, what is coagulation? Coagulation is nothing but a property of plasma. So we always we think that coagulation means coagulation of red blood cells. But you can understand red blood cells are present in plasma. So it's all coagulation related to the extracellular fluid, because extracellular fluid have plasma and RBCs. So coagulation mainly is a property of the plasma, the process by which the soluble fibrinogen is converted into insoluble fibrin. We all always read this definition, but we need to understand why the soluble one is converting into insoluble, because now the platelet plug is formed, which is to prevent the blood loss. So to prevent the blood loss, if it is in the soluble form, then it also get dissolved and the blood start leaking. So it should be in insoluble form so that the blood will not leak. So to prevent the blood loss, mainly the soluble fibrinogen is converting into insoluble fibrin. And this fibrinogen is a protein. Fibrinogen is one of plasma proteins. Albumin, fibrinogen, globulins, right? So fibrinogen is one of the plasma protein. This is mainly released by our liver, and this fibrinogen is soluble in blood usually. So as this is soluble, now we need to convert it into insoluble form so that we can prevent the blood leaking. So this is a actual definition of coagulation. If you understand the definitions clearly concept, then no need to remember this. Means no need to batti them, or no need to mug up them. So whenever any part of circulatory system damage from constituents of blood semi-solid mass is formed, and the plaque that puncture. So what they are saying, in any circulation system, in any vascular vessel or anything, if there is any puncture, then the semi-solid mass is formed. That's semi-solid, not completely solid, not completely liquid. So semi-solid mass is formed, and the plaque is formed exactly at the site of the puncture. So endothelial cells mainly produce nitric oxide, prostacyclin. Prostacyclin is also one of the type of special prostaglandin, that especially the healthy endothelial cells produce all these things. Why they produce? And also ADP phosphatases. This is antiplatelet. These are mainly antiplatelet agents. So you can see here the word healthy endothelial cell. Healthy means what? In healthy endothelial cells there should not be clots, because formation of clots and plaques are also is a disease. Coronary artery disease, strokes, all these are caused mainly because of clumps or clots which are present in our vessels. So it should not present. So in a healthy endothelial cell, they always try to don't produce platelets. Only they produce the platelets whenever there is any injury, to prevent the blood loss. That's it. So that thing we need to remember. So what are the products which are helpful mainly to prevent this platelet flaxes? Nitric oxide, prostacyclin, which is a prostaglandin, and also ADP phosphatase. Very important point. And the platelets are repelled by nitric oxide, prostacyclin, and also ADP phosphatases. So as they are repelled, they will not form any clot or coagulum there. But you can see here the adenosine diphosphate, which favors the attachment of platelet to the endothelial lining. So as I was saying, adenosine diphosphatase are antiplatelet agents, but the adenosine diphosphate is favoring the attachment of platelet to the endothelium lining. So you can understand this adenosine diphosphate is mainly present during the injury case of an endothelium. So you can see the platelets are mainly without nucleus, as we discussed already, and they are kept inhibited in healthy vascular system and activated when the plaque is needed to be formed, especially in the injury case. So sizes like 2 to 3 microns, that is 3 platelets fixed in 1 RBC, because 1 RBC is 7 to 8 microns. So here 2 to 3 microns, and the lifespan is like about 8 to 10 days. So the lifespan of one platelet is 8 to 10 days. And whenever the platelets are decreased, it is called as thrombocytopenia, or also called as hemocytopenia. And healthy endothelium put the coagulation in check always. So remember that healthy endothelium always puts the coagulation in check always, because if the platelets are formed unnecessary, it will form other diseases. So if a patient with a hemocytopenia, so if we need to understand that there is low amount of platelets present in them. And every endothelial cell mainly expresses the heparin sulfate, and it is associated with antithrombin 3 and activated, which cut down the thrombin molecule and activate the factor 10 and factor 9. So every endothelium cell mainly express this heparin. Heparin even outside the lab they are also known as anticoagulants, and it is mainly associated with the antithrombin 3. So this antithrombin 3 and activate the cut down the thrombin molecule and activate factors. So when these platelet factors are activated, you can understand now the clot is going to form. So we also have one more protein like thrombomodulin. This thrombomodulin mainly modulates the thrombin by binding it, and the thrombin activates the protein C, which digests away the factor 5 plus factor 8. So this is like a modulating protein. It binds and activate the thrombin to protein C, and this digests away this factor 5 and factor 8. So tissue plasminogen activator is mainly produced by healthy endothelium, which can convert the protein coming from the plasminogen into plasmin, and this plasmin also destroys the fibrin. So you can see these all are like the factors which are decreasing the coagulation. Plasmin destroy the coagulation, even thrombomodulin also you can see it is digesting away these factors so that it can also destroy the all these factors. And healthy endothelium is antithrombotic and anticoagulant. It is healthy, antithrombotic, anticoagulant. And if the endothelial cells are injured, then bleeding starts, but out vascular system try to reduce the bleeding. So endothelial cells are injured, then bleeding starts, but out vascular system try to reduce the bleeding mainly by vascular spasticity, also called as vascular constriction. Whenever the blood vessels are constricted, then the blood flow is decreased so that we can decrease the loss of blood from the body. So it's early response, but be only for the sometime. It is only the early response, but only being for the sometime. So from the surroundings, the nerve injured, vasoconstrictors are released, and they are called neurogenic reflex vasoconstriction. So when the blood vessels are injured, not only that, surrounding nerves are also injured. So because of this, they immediately cause this vasoconstrictors to rise up. Mainly this is also called as neurogenic reflex. And smooth muscle constriction is called as myogenic constriction, because yeah, we have seen myogenic means mainly due to smooth muscle, and in injuries endothelial cells produce mainly vasoconstrictors, and endothelin is produced by injured cells and act on smooth muscle and also contract them. So contraction is done by endothelin, and also by our smooth muscles are constricted by our myogenic constriction. So as injured part doesn't have endothelium cells and their anti coagulant products, so rather they produce a von Willebrand factor which holds the platelets on one side and attached to the collagenous exposed part of the injured side. So it is the sticky material. So because of this sticky material, now it is favoring the formation of clot. So there are special receptors which can fix in the von Willebrand factor, mainly called as glycoprotein IB. And this glycoprotein IB in some people, what is glycoprotein IB may be absent, and the platelet may not adhere to the von Willebrand factor, may also can't form the clot. So even in this case, when this receptor is also abnormal, and in this case also it is not able to bind. And platelet adhere, the process in which the platelets stick to the surface, which is non-platelet substance. So on the non-platelet substance, if the platelet sticks, then it is called as platelet adhere. And GPIB gives the information to the platelet and activate it and start producing the thromboxane A2. Thromboxane A2 is a very important vasoconstrictor, and also it start forming aggregations. And this GPIB, this is a infer activated by von Willebrand. This intern, yeah, this GPIB also is intern activated by the von Willebrand factor. So if we see like a diagram, we'll clearly understand. For example, this is the site of injury. Here are von Willebrand factors like this. For this von Willebrand factors, the platelets start binding. So what is platelet adhere means the process in which the platelets stick to the surface which is non-platelet. So first we will be having a non-platelet surface. Here the platelet stick, then it is called as platelet adhere. And also here you have GPIB receptor. So you can see here glycoprotein receptor GPIB. There are special receptors fixed in von Willebrand factor GPIB. In some people it is absent. Platelet may not adhere to the von Willebrand factor, may also can't form the clot. So here only we have GPIB, which mainly helps the platelet to attach to this von Willebrand factor. So the prostacyclin from an healthy endothelium and thromboxane A2 from injured are always competent. Prostacyclin from L-carnitine and thromboxane A2 are always competent. These may decide whether to form the clot or to not form the clot. Prostacyclin from healthy individual, it says that not to form the clot, and thromboxane A2 from injured always says that to form the clot. So whenever we see in the blood there is higher amount of thromboxane A2, when we can say that there is a chance of forming the clot, and whenever there is prostacyclin, then we can say that a clot is not going to form. So aspirin is mainly a salicylic acid tablet which inhibits the cyclooxygenase in the platelet, which converts the arachidonic acid into thromboxane A2. So if this process is if the cyclooxygenase is not able to convert arachidonic acid into thromboxane A2, then you can understand if the aspirin is given, the thromboxane A2 is decreased. You understand if thromboxane A2 is decreased, then the clot formation also will not take place. And salicylic acid bind with the cycloproteinase protein and inhibit. So it is nothing but aspirin. So production of thromboxane A2. So it can't aggregate. So if there is low production of thromboxane A2, then it can't form a clot, or else it can't aggregate. So granules of platelets are mainly released when they are activated. Platelets have mainly alpha granules and they are dense, also called as dense or delta granules. And we can remember they also have some SAC. S means serotonin. Serotonin is mainly released and produce the vasoconstriction. And A means ADP. ADP is a platelet activating substance. And C for calcium. Calcium mainly acts on the gamma carboxylated coagulated factors and hold them with the membrane. So ticlopidine drug also acts on the ADP and make them inappropriate. So ticlopidine mainly prevents binding of the factors. It acts on the ADP. You know ADP is useful for the coagulation. So if it is acting on ADP, it inhibits it, so that here also clot will not form. So these drugs are mainly used to inhibit the formation of clot. And there are also many coagulation factors. They are like inactive enzymes which are activated by acting upon each other. That only when vitamin K is present they can bind together. For example, factor 12 activates factor 11, factor 11 activates factor 9, factor 9 in turn activates factor 10. So we'll see how this takes place. So factors can be activated when they stick to the phospholipids on the platelets and they have the negative charge points, so they are held tightly on the membrane. So the factors have mainly glutamate and carboxyl negative charge points. Calcium act on it, and then only one factor can act upon others. So vitamin K mainly makes the factors gamma carboxylated and glutamic residues, and only this can bind to the calcium and stimulate other factors. So whenever there is low vitamin K factors, they are not carboxylated, so coagulation system fails. And alpha factors have coagulation factors like 8, 5, etc. They also have fibrinogen platelet derived growth factors. This lead to mitosis of the smooth muscle. So platelets are like crows. So when one crow injured, it says like cow cow. Like so, all other crows come in same way. When the platelet says like this, so in the form of serotonin. So serotonin is produced by the platelets, and just it like a chemoattractant, it attracts other platelets towards it. And ADP, calcium, all other platelets are attracted towards them. Even um, ADP, calcium are also attracted towards them. So as soon as ADP thromboxane sticks the platelet, then platelet reaches the affected area. So when this time platelet sticking to the other platelet, this is mainly called platelet aggregation. So before we have seen one term, that is platelet adhesion. Platelet adhere means only to binding to the membrane over there. That is non-platelet part. But platelet aggregation means binding to the co-platelet, means binding only to the same platelet, again binding to the platelet and form the platelet plaque. So platelet plaque is mainly formed by binding of the platelets aggregation, and this first formed platelet plaque by means of platelet aggregation, this is called as primary platelet plaque, or also called as primary hemostatic plaque. Hemostatic because you can say hem means blood, static means here now blood is not able to move. So hemostatic plaque is a primary platelet plaque. So now when the fibrin joins in the primary plaque forming the tight connections in the form, it forms a secondary hemostatic plaque. So secondary hemostatic plaque is mainly associated with fibrin. Fibrin is like a network. It like sieves, as we sieve our clothes like with threads. So fibrin also sieves like the platelets. For example, now once we'll understand very clearly. So this is the site of injury. Here we have valve Libran factor. So for the valve Libran fracture, we said GPIB protein is there. It helps to bind the platelet with this, and this process is called platelet adhere. And now here one platelet has come. It is calling signals by means of serotonin. So now ADP, phosphates all come and bind other platelets. This process is called platelet aggregation. And after aggregation takes place, all these aggregations together form the primary hemostatic plaque. And after primary hemostatic plaque, you can understand. Now the fibrin comes and like this, it sews all this like a thread and forms a network. So this is called as secondary hemostatic plaque. So whenever the fibrin comes, then only the hemostatic plaque forms. So this is how in a healthy individual the platelet forms. So vitamin K also plays very important role. Even the calcium also plays very important role in formation of platelet plaques. So we have mainly intrinsic pathways and extrinsic pathways. The intrinsic pathway is that when blood in touch with the injured area or platelets like factor 12 is activated and intrinsic pathway gets triggered. But extrinsic pathway, that is thromboplastin or tissue factor, is lipoprotein and tissues which can activate the factor number 7. So in the case of extrinsic pathway, factor number 7, and in the case of intrinsic pathway, factor number 12 are activated. So first let us see. You see, then we had 12. Factor 12 is first activated form, then factor 12. This is mainly activated by different tissue factors. So this 12A is in contact with the platelets in the site of injury and it activates the 11A. So 12A activates the 11A, 11A activates the 9A, 9A activates the 10A in turn again. So this 9A to 10A is mediated by phospholipid, calcium and factor 8. Also factor 8, remember. And this 10A, it's like in order, you can see first 12, 12 to 11, 11 to 9, 9 to 8, 8 is in between, 8 to again 10. So 10A, and here the calcium and again factor 5 phospholipid are acting upon, and this 10A is converting into prothrombin, and prothrombin finally converting to thrombin, and thrombin is useful for formation of our clots. It is a superactive molecule. Mainly why thrombin is useful? Because thrombin break down the fibrinogen into fibrin. So whenever the fibrin is present, only the secondary hemostatic plaque can form. So thrombin break down the fibrinogen into fibrin. Then only the fibrin is helpful to formation of our clot. So fibrin monomer gets attached to the platelets, and the thrombin also activates the thrombin stabilizing factor. Not only thrombin converts the fibrinogen into fibrin, but also thrombin activates the thrombin stabilizing factor, which is nothing but the factor 13 enzyme. So this enzyme mainly rushes over the fibrin and cross-link to form a network. So now the primary is converted into secondary hemostatic plaque. Yeah, we already discussed. So the tissue factor can activate the factor 7, which in turn activates factor 10 and 9 factor. So this is extrinsic pathway which is fast. So always remember extrinsic pathway is very fast because this which we have seen here. This is an intrinsic pathway. In intrinsic pathway you can see here from 12 to 9 to 8 again 10 and thrombin is forming, but here it's a very shortcut form. You can see tissue factor is activating directly the factor 7 and which in turn activates 10. Directly it is coming to this path. From 7 it is coming to 10 and into 9. So this is the extrinsic pathway which is fast. So always remember the extrinsic pathway is very fast and intrinsic is somewhat slow. And the thrombus is formed inside the body and the clot form outside the body. Always remember thrombus means which is forming inside the body, clot means always forming outside the body, that is towards the exposed surface of the body to outside. So the patient treated with warfarin can't have coagulation process because of inactivated calcium. So warfarin it inactivates calcium. Calcium is mainly required to formation of, you can see calcium in these two steps it is playing a major role to formation of clot. So in a warfarin patients there is no coagulation because there is less inactivated because of inactivated calcium. And platelet along with the coagulation plaque nothing but is a thrombus. So thrombus requires platelets and also coagulation plaque. So as healthy endothelium releases many anticoagulant products, the thrombus can't move to the uninjured areas, right? So if the thrombus is moving into the blood and into small tissue and damage it, then it is called as embolus, which is a pathology. It is not good news, it's like a bad news for us because it's causing a disease. So what is this saying is as healthy endothelium releases many anticoagulant products, the thrombus can't move to the uninjured areas. Means in uninjured areas there is no thrombus formation because of many nitric oxide, prostaglandins, all those things. So several fibroblasts may destroy them up, or sometimes if injury too much then the whole vessel is occluded and the new vessel forms. It is called recanalization. So sometimes what happens, for example this is a vessel, here full platelets plaque is formed, here also full platelet plaque is, so completely it is occluding, and suddenly what happens, all the growth factors come and in middle they form a way, so that now the blood from this side can move to this side. So like this in a middle it will form a way, so that this process is called recanalization. Several fibroblasts destroy, eat them up, or sometimes if injury too much then the whole vessel is occluded and new vessel forms. This is called as recanalization. So thrombus after the injury may disintegrate or dissolve, embolize, organize, canalize, anything it can happen. So thrombus after injury may disintegrate, that is it has broken down. Next, dissolve or some completely dissolve, or embolize. How can it embolize? By traveling to other parts. And organize and also recanalize. Recanalize means like this. So all this is about somewhat detailed discussion of our coagulation. So we have completed both at a time stretch platelets and also coagulation, and later we will also see in the next video about blood coagulation some important points from our textbook.